Hey, bubbling, coming in, crushing this art. We're back at it with the second sign of fall, moving right along. All right, this is Scorpio. So straight up, Scorpio Rising, this is a fixed person. So this is someone that likes to be fixed in their emotion and feelings, and this is someone that is obsessive, but it seems like they're gonna have new obsessions as time moves on. Like, they may be obsessed with something for a good week, for a good month, for a good 3 months, but because it's ruled by Mars, there is going to be liberal or new things coming in and out, right? So hopefully what they're obsessing on is good, because this is going to someone that is personally going to be obsessive. So personally, whatever they're obsessing on, this is someone with good manifestation energy. Whatever they're obsessing on, hopefully it's good, because they're going to manifest something, a person, place, thing, event, situation related to that. So this is where I feel like Pluto becomes the co-ruler of Scorpio, because if you're obsessing over something and it's bad, that's just going to change your life. You're obsessing over something and it's good, that's just going to change your life. Doesn't matter. Going to change your life. So be careful what you indulge into. Be careful what you associate with emotionally. Scorpio Rising. So then their 7th house is Taurus. So this would be someone with their relationships. They'd find people that are more grounded. They're not all in their feelings. They're more into the practical realm. They just want to be stable. Whereas like Scorpio doesn't necessarily care about being stable practically, as long as it can be stable on those emotions. So that would be the 1st versus the 7th, is they would learn a lot about how to be calm, cool, and collected, just to like enjoy, but just like move along, you know, not get caught up in something and like stick with it. Just roll through, know what you're gonna do and do it. Don't be so in your feelings, right? This is things they would learn from their one-on-one relationships. Now 4th house, this would be Aquarius. So this would be someone that privately is an individual, that privately they don't need anyone else to associate with them. They know what they're gonna do. They have their own way of going about it, because it's across from Leo, whereas the Sun needs everyone else's input so that it can rain light on them that they all enjoy, because if everyone thinks the light is shit, well, it's not light. So whereas the Aquarius, it's not raining it on anybody. All it needs to do is work for itself, and it has the Saturn ruler, so hey, it knows what works. So personally, or in their private life, in their inner circle, if you actually get to their inner circle, because hey, they're a Scorpio, they're an individual, right? They're not looking for anyone else's opinion. They think what they think, and it's like possibly original. Or if it's not, hey, they didn't ask a bunch of people for their opinion before they got it, right? Whereas in their 10th house, publicly, what they do publicly is on the contrast. So it's like privately is where they're an individual, but publicly is where they take on everybody's weight, or they're the showman for everybody. You know what I mean? They're expressing to everybody. They're embracing that Leo energy. So yeah, so publicly they would be just a very expressive person. They'd be someone that could get everybody on board, or they'd be involved in a lot of situations publicly where everyone should be on board, and there's something shining light on that, right? There's like a show going on in a way, like the Leo type energy. So that would be the 4th versus the 10th. So if we move on to the 2nd versus the 8th, the 2nd will be Sag. So this would be someone that their values are mutable and adaptive and visionary. So they really value being able to see things in a different light, to be able to do new things, to do these things. But also in their values, it's like they can get caught up in their values. Like they really value this for a moment, but they put a lot of weight on that, but maybe it turns out they should have like spread their values a little thinner, or like incorporated some other things. They got lost in that one thing they valued and got burnt, like the Sag energy. Like they have a lot to learn about what to value, right? And if we just move straight on to the 5th house for a second, their 5th house is Pisces. So this would be someone that when they express themselves, they get receptive and lost into it emotionally. So this would be someone that would learn a lot too about expression. This would be someone that when they express themselves, because they get lost into it emotionally, and then they end up like going with that, they could get sucked into that emotionally to the point where they're obsessing over the wrong thing, just what they do personally, right? So it'd be someone that would learn a lot about how to express themselves, and they'd be able to express themselves in a way that that they know how to be heard, right? The Pisces, they know how to get that across. Like, they know how to be mutable and receptive and get like vibe with everybody there, and then express themselves through that. But they, because it's mutable, right, they would need the people on their page in order to dive into that energy, because they're going to dive into what's there. So this would be someone that I feel like would start expressing themselves in things that probably don't matter at first as a kid, and like being very expressive and getting caught up in things emotionally that are just like stupid, but then eventually they get so emotionally invested in that they learn that that was dumb, right? And eventually they allow themselves to get lost, or the Pisces energy get caught up in the situations that they can get invested into emotionally that aren't going to hurt them, right? They'll develop safeguards for expressing themselves in the wrong places so that they don't get caught up in the bad way. So I just wanted to talk about the Jupiter houses. They learn a lot about their values and how they express themselves, right? The experience houses, the kind of what you resonate with, and then how that's going to be taken into your more liberal Martian planet, like how you're going to go about bringing in the new. So yeah, so if we just go back to the 2nd versus the 8th, the 8th house is Gemini. So this would be someone that behind closed doors is just like, whatever, like we can do this, we could do that, you know, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, so this would be like Scorpios in general would just like have a lot of different opinions about like occult things, or yeah, like they necessarily wouldn't see like their inheritance coming or something like that, like the hidden, what you don't see, but is there in a way. So, but yeah, it's mutable. So this would mean like someone could like expect having like no inheritance, right? But then all of a sudden it's like out of nowhere, it's like, whoa, but it's that, and you're like, what? Like, where'd that come from? Like the mutable. So yeah. Yeah, and also like what they value in relationships could always be changing too. Like day to day, it's kind of like different, or like depending on their obsession, right? Because like one of the things that is also like an 8th house thing is the currency behind relationships. Like what is holding the relationship together? Like what does the person value in the bond that might not necessarily be expressed and isn't quite visible as like two people hanging out together. So it's almost like, yeah, like that is like flip side. Like why there was someone today might not be why there was someone tomorrow, but they do have the 7th house fixed, so it seems like they kind of would be with the same people, but they might be coming from like a completely different place one day, you know, which would make sense. So yeah, so that's the 2nd versus the 8th. So if we go to the 5th versus the 11th, we talked about the 5th learning how to safeguard what they get lost into, because what they get lost into, then from that they'll be able to dive into that and express themselves through that. Yeah, so that would be the 5th versus the 11th. This would be more collected. This would be more like someone that is building their social arena, right? Building the businesses they work with. Not necessarily get lost into it, but this would be Virgo, like trying to systematically build this organization, like build people around you that would help you accomplish your dream, right? Or help you like do what you need to do publicly. So, but yeah, this would be someone that would come about it in a more systematic way on how they're setting themselves up publicly in relation to other people. Like not necessarily how they're seen publicly, but just how they're setting themselves up, right? So that would be the 5th versus the 11th. So now if we talk about the 3rd and the 9th, the 3rd is Capricorn. So this would be someone on their day-to-day is where they're thinking about their big dreams, or they're trying to initiate structures. So this would be someone like with big day-to-days, right? Which would make sense because Scorpio gets obsessive. So it's like once they get into something, it's like they're going to build like a giant poster or a mural, right? And it's going to be like this day-to-day thing that they get caught up into, and then they're going to have like a new day-to-day thing like when they have their new obsession, right? So that makes sense with Capricorn in the 3rd, big dreamer. And then Cancer in the 9th. So this will be someone that their dreams are connected to the re-energy, or their dreams and their purpose is connected to like where they come from. So yeah, and that would kind of make sense considering like their 4th house is Aquarius, and that's an individual. So it's almost like they're coming from like kind of an individual place. And then they kind of just like, they feel like that's their purpose, right? So yeah, so that would be like 9th house purpose, like they're really connected to their purpose, right? Like they feel like an emotional connection to it. So yeah, and it may kind of be like a little bit negative too, because you think about, like, if you have this purpose to go out there and accomplish this big dream, you're gonna need like a cap, or like a hard, or like a philosophic, like a solid kind of backing behind like why you're gonna go all that way, right? So this rule by the moon might be a little negative, because it may be like a little like, my purpose now could be like a little different than my purpose then, you know, which would make sense because they're a Scorpio and like their obsessions will be changing. So yeah, so that'd be the 3rd versus the 9th. So now if we go to the 6th versus the 12th, the 6th is Aries. So this would be someone that when something first breaks down, or they need to work on a 9 to 5 and they don't really want to, or they are building something up that's new and they need just to do the grind, this would be someone that would like get frustrated and just try to blast through it, right? Like they kind of just want to be doing what they're doing, what they're passionate about. So when there's kind of an obstacle on the way, they're just like, yeah, the Aries energy, like they just start acting selfishly, right? Whereas when they actually figure out that this is a boundary, you know, and there is no way through it, this is, I feel like, when their strategic element comes in, because their 12th house, when there is no way forward, this is ruled by Libra, right? So then they just, yeah, so then they just start generating ideas. They just start working from that, right? They start, yeah, they just kind of incorporate that in a way, and then figure out what ideas they can develop around that. So yeah. Yeah, and also be like selfless. Like at first, right, when they discover that obstacle and they think they might be able to get through it, they're so selfish and they're so in their feelings. But once it's not, it's like that just incorporates as part of what they know as strategy, and they accept it. Like with the Libra energy, like then they work from there, and it's more like, okay, let's start thinking on what to do now. You know what I mean? And it's more calm, cool, and collected. So yeah. So that would be Scorpio Rising. All houses, bubbling, coming in, crushing this art.